Hey, GRPS staff, greetings from the GRPS Instructional Technology Department. Thanks for joining us for module number 5 in distance learning for teachers already using Google Classroom. You should have been through modules about creating student engagement with multiple styles of attachments and approaches, giving student feedback via comments and assignments in Google Docs, rubrics and grading, plagiarism reports. This module is going to cover emailing students through Google Classroom. As usual, before we get started, let's do some best practices around Google and Google products. Let's make sure that we're logged into our students.grps.org email address in our Google Chrome browser, and make sure that we're logged into Google with our students.grps.org email address. So we're following FERPA student privacy and safety guidelines. Normally we would go into our test class that we've been working on with these modules, but today we're going to go into our class that I still have in my Google Classroom that actually has students in it. The majority of your work when it comes to emailing students through Google Classroom is going to be here under the People tab. Once you click on the People tab, you'll see that I have myself as the teacher. I have my building principal attached to my classroom, as is best practices here at GRPS. And I also have my parapro that worked with me in that class as well. And I have my list of students down here below that. You'll notice that there is a grayed out section here at the top that says actions. We don't have the ability to check any of these actions until we actually check students. We have the ability to check individual students that we want to perform actions on, or we can check this top box here and either check or uncheck all of the students in class. Once we have the students checked, we can come in and we can email our students. We also have the ability to do some other nifty tricks here with our kids. If we have some students who have left our classroom for whatever reason, we can remove them from our Google roster here. We can also mute a student who maybe hasn't quite figured out how to interact via Google Classroom chats in a responsible way. Muting is not permanent. You can come in and unmute them at any time. For the sake of today's lesson, though, we're going to focus on email. When we click on email, it's going to open your at students.grps.org Gmail account directly in your web browser. You'll notice that we'll come into mine as soon as it loads here. And it automatically opens a brand new email message to you with your student email addresses preloaded. Okay, this is blind copying your students, depending on what your requirements are in your particular class or building. Your principal may require that you copy him on any student communication or her on any student communication. In this case, I will copy Mr. Perez, and we will talk about week 1 of distance learning. I'll have my signature from when I was teaching at Westwood in here, and then I can type whatever I'd like to for my students here. In addition to adding announcements in my Google stream of my Google Classroom, I would copy those announcements in an email as well and send those off to the students. The reason for that is that my students typically have downloaded the Gmail app to their phones, and some may or may not have downloaded the Google Classroom app to their phones. And so a notification from Gmail is something that they'd be more likely to check. And just as an aside, something that's fun, if you happen to be a Bitmoji customer, you can click your Bitmoji down here at the bottom, and you can pick a fancy Bitmoji that you want to share with your students, and you can attach it as well and send it along. Best practices for Gmail for the at students.grps.org Gmail as recommended by the district is really to keep that Gmail account for use with your students and only your students. In this case, now that we're moving into direct 100% online learning, certainly expect some emails to come to that email address from families as well, as this is going to be the email address that students can see for you. With the performance of the GroupWise web client and issues around that, I would strongly recommend student communication be centered around your Google Gmail account. If you are ever wanting to check that email account without worrying about coming in through Google Classroom, you can always go into the Google Waffle and click Gmail there. And then your inbox will load for you to respond and reply to any student messages accordingly. As always, you will see that I have got some notifications from teachers that I am in their classes. This is what your notification would look like for an assignment. Mr. Bill Morris, I'm using your notification. I hope you don't mind. But this is a nice email from Mr. Morris over at Union that he sent out to his kids in his Algebra 2 class. I happen to be a student in that class, and so I received his notification. This is a great example of wonderful student communication during distance learning. As always, GRPS is here to help you. If you have any questions about emailing students through Google Classroom, contacting families, preserving your teacher privacy, don't hesitate to look at helpdeskinfo.grps.org for any support articles. Contact the help desk via email or via phone. And starting Thursday, the 16th, dial 616-819-7960 to ask questions at our distance learning support line.